Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with the next drip marketing for Wuthering Waves 3.6. And if you've been keeping up with the new Sonata sets that have been added to the game, their names, their effects, this one shouldn't come as much of a surprise to you. And this is going to be, I think 3.6 as a whole, is going to be one of the easiest character releases for a lot of people in a long while. So let's just go ahead and get ourselves associated with Jingran over here, a fusion, heavy attack, HP scaling, DPS. Straight to the underworld. Couldn't have asked for better. Okay, this guy's like, if you couldn't tell from like his exposure in the story, this guy's like very like edgy, like nerdy as well. Like the way that I would describe him is like an edgy nerd that develops superpowers. And that's why he is the way he is. Yeah, it's sort of just like you look at him and it's like crawling in my skin. It's a little bit like that, right? So let's read a little bit more about him. A Mengzhou-born Nethermancer. So this is probably like how he's going to work. China has like this little occult thing, right, going on. You might remember from like the League of Legends, the 10-set days, they're like not allowed to have like skeletons or like blood and stuff like that, but they are allowed to like delve into like the undead territory. That's what like the Nethermancy, all of that stuff is. And they've got their own version of like zombies, right, called like Jangshis or something like that. There's like the undead are like very big in Wuxia. Right. And so I do believe that this character is sort of like meant to be that sort of like undead channeler that I guess also happens to have fire with whatever they're doing. So that's the lore surrounding him. He really did not have a big sort of presence in the 3.5 story at all. I don't really think it's even worth exploring his cutscenes because he kind of just does a whole lot of fucking nothing. So yeah, he wanders between mirage realms and the ruins of the old world, and his eyes see what others cannot. He has like one eye that's like fucked up, probably what they're talking about. He answers to no sex laws and bows to no god's order. Into mirages, through shadow, across the... This guy is, he's a little lame, right? He's a little lame. And I'll just play a little bit of the cutscene so you can like truly see how lame this guy is. I'll just play a little bit of it so you can see what I'm talking about over here. This I guess he does kind of do something. Ooh. Ooh. I think he has some CC built into his kit. That's what it looks like.
Hey, over here! This trick won't hold them for long. You don't want to die, get into the fog.
He's like, the vibe that I get from him is that like, he's like a very sort of like goofy, like sarcastic, like... It doesn't really match his vibe.
With your head.
Okay.
Fog from... Don't stop the fog from messing with your head.
It's all right. Right. Maybe it'll be a lot. Maybe it'll be a lot better as time goes on. But I feel like a lot of people are. I feel like a lot of people are pretty split on him. So with that in mind, though, we've actually got to start taking a look at his stuff, because I do believe that this is one of the most aura farming splash arts a person can have, and it's almost like a 180 compared to his character. This guy kind of looks like the coldest motherfucker ever, right? In this splash art, it goes crazy. The color scheme is also like insane as well, with like the kind of like the teal as well as like the red. This definitely, right? If I were to compare it to another gacha character that got released, guys, it's really, this is gonna fuck with you. I don't think this guy is that similar to Flynn's. The unit that this guy reminds me of is actually, it's gonna be a little bit weird, but I think you'll get what I'm talking about. Yes, Blade, ladies and gentlemen. He reminds me of Blade from Honkai Star Rail. Blade instead of Flynn's. I get the same sort of like vibes going on over here, and then the color scheme, right? It's kind of, it's it's way similar too. So that's the way that I sort of like view it. And Blade is like all about like death and dying and all that shit as well. So thematically, right, it does give me the same sort of look. So that's what we got going on over there. You can see the fire over here. That's pretty much showing that he's going to attack with blue flames, teal flames, something like that. That's also another netherworld, underworldy sort of thing in like the wuxia, the green sort of like flames. So as like flavor, he does seem to be hitting it right on top of the head. And on the topic of flames, we basically gotten the full confirmation of everything when it comes to this guy and how he's going to work. And the easiest way for me to like reveal all that information to you is to just simply go to the new updates highlight and take a look at this page. Because this is one very true thing that you can do, ladies and gentlemen, in version 3.5. In this update, before Jingran's banner in the second half of 3.6. And that is just farm his entire echo set. You can build everything. You know exactly his damage type too. You know everything when it comes to this unit. And people can actually have a 5 out of 5 perfect set good to go by the time he comes off the banner. And that's because of this. The Myriad Snare is his 4-cost echo. It shares its set with Qingxiao's set over here, right? You can see it's got the arrow set too. But the passive bonus of this one is resonators with this echo equipped in the main slot deal higher fusion and heavy attack damage. And then you look at this set, and well, what does it do? It gives you HP. It's called the Lamp of Nether Road. I wonder if the Nethermancer with the lamp is gonna use that. And then the 5-piece effect is, upon gaining a shield, gain a stackable crit rate increase, and at max stacks, gain a fusion damage bonus. And like I said before, guys, it's all in game right fucking now. And so I've kind of like, I guess I might as well just use my Encore as like a staging ground over here, but let's just get into probably what the build is going to be. Let's just assume this is like a crit one. Oh, that is not good. I need to go farm some more. You're probably going to want something like, ooh, I don't know, some fusion damage pieces, something like that. Maybe you can run like an HP or something like that. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, assuming that you are taking some time to actually farm some 1-cost and stuff, pretend this is HP. The set's good to go. The set is ready. But this is the difficult part about pre-farming for this unit right now. Well, he's the second half unit. And the other set that you're able to pre-farm is for Qingxiao. So most people are probably going to be taking this order. And this is some of the caveats that I forgot to mention in the prior video regarding Qingxiao and these two echo sets. You can farm this one first, and you should be farming this one first because Qingxiao comes out first, but you should not be getting 5 pieces on Hearts of Evil Purge. And the reason for this is very, very, very simple. I've got my John Shin over here with Qingxiao's set actually on her. You don't want 2-3 costs on the build. And the reason why you don't want 2-3 costs on the build, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very, very simple. Because there's no passive echo in the 4th slot, right? In this slot over here, there's no passive echo that buffs arrow damage. And so you don't have anything that actually works for Qingxiao yet. And so you shouldn't really be leveling a bunch of 3 costs. I've got one good to go over here for her. Yeah, this one's just like marinating, right? This one's just chilling. But you should be leaving an empty one over here. While you can still get the 4 cost up here. And you can still get, well, some of the other bonuses down here. But there's another thing. There could be another 4 cost echo on this set that comes out in version 3.6 too. So that's why you got to be on the lookout for the live stream. You got to be on the lookout for a bunch of stuff regarding new echoes for Qingxiao specifically. So you can't actually finish off her stuff yet in this version. You can get started halfway, but know there's some work you need to do in 3.6. However, Jingran, on the other hand, you can just build the entire thing. And that's actually the slight advantage that he has over her. More people are going to have a Jingran ready day one than their Qingxiaos. And you have all the tools at your disposal to get this set perfect if this is the character that you actually want to invest in. So that's something to think about too. Now, since we're on the topic of echo sets, building, all of that, we got to talk a little bit about meta because we effectively already know what this guy does. He is going to be a fusion HP scaling heavy attacker. And this is the unfortunate part about being a fusion HP scaling heavy attacker. His teams are a bit complicated because there's not really a good HP scaling support. He doesn't really have a third slot. He has to make do with a bunch of sort of like, I'll call them bastard teams, because you're just gonna be like, man, there's one character in here that sort of belongs, but like not really, and I wish something was slightly different, right? It's kind of like having a bastard as one of your sons, right? Like that's like how it works. So these are gonna be the teams that I suggest people go for on release, and I'm gonna list out all of the various strengths and weaknesses and what makes each of these team comps bastardized. So without further ado, here is the first one. Everyone knows there's the classic monofusion. And for this demonstration, I'm just gonna put in Chang Li for Jingran. Chang Li is supposed to be him. Monofusion. You can just run the Galbraina team composition and pretend, right, that Jingran is just Galbraina. The issue with this team composition over here is very simple. Lupa's outro skill is going to be kind of shit. It's still going to be good with the 20% fusion, but 25% of that basic attack damage amp probably isn't going to do anything. This is the first bastard part of this team. Mornier is great though, right? Because she's going to provide the 25% all damage amp, but what is Mornier's Sonata set? Oh, she provides attack. That's the bastard part about Mornier in this team. This attack bonus doesn't feel like it's going to be very good, right? Can we agree on that? I don't think this is going to do very much for him. Unfortunate. But that's why this team feels like a little bit icky. It's still going to be strong, I bet you, but it's going to feel a little bit icky, right? Next, we get another variation of it. And this one's going to be like odd, but it should work. You can run the other monofusion with Brandt as the sustain. And this is where stuff gets kind of interesting, because the only bastard part about this team comp is that Brandt's resonance skill damage bonus isn't really going to work that well. But everything else is going to be fine. This is the one part of the team. This is the one part of the team over here, right, that doesn't necessarily feel that great, but everything else kind of lines up because you're not wasting Lupa's buffs. Lupa's full outro is going to Brandt, and the only thing you're sort of missing, right, is all of Brandt's outro, but you should still be getting great results. Might be the first viable dual male team in the game. I think it's actually going to be very strong. Maybe not as strong as the Mornier one, but maybe it will be because Mornier's attack buffs aren't that useful, right? So we'll see. And you might be able to quick swap Jingran too because of that, just because you have these two characters in there. Now, this is where stuff is going to get a little bit, well, non-monofusion-y. You're simply going to go ahead and you're going to replace Augusta with, well, you guessed it, you're going to replace Augusta with Jingran. And the reason for that is very simple. Yuno has this ability in her kit called the Blessing of One Light. And how this thing basically works is, as the on-field character generates a shield, they gain a stack of 4% all damage out, and it stacks up to 4 times. And the way to get the way to get these stacks, right, I mentioned it before, you have to generate shields in your kit. And so the unfortunate part about this buff is this. Only a few characters in the game are able to generate a shield whenever they attack. Yuno, for example, generates one, and so does Augusta. But we just read the Sonata set, right? What does this Sonata set do? Upon gaining a shield, gain 5% increase in crit rate for 5 seconds, max 4 stacks. That only lasts 5 seconds, so he has to repeatedly grant shields in his kit. Otherwise, this buff would fall off, and this is his best in slot Sonata set. So this character is basically confirmed to have the same exact type of shield generating mechanic on their attacks as a Yuno or a Mavuika. Sorry, Augusta. Also heavy attackers. So he kind of just sounds like a fusion HP scaling version of Augusta. And that's where Yuno is going to be coming in. But this is the unfortunate part about the Yuno team. Who's the third slot? Because, like I said before, there's some bastardization in here. Yuno, oddly enough, is like the least bastardized part about this team. Very simply because Yuno gives no attack buffs. The only buff Yuno gives is this and her outro. That's it. 50% heavy attack damage amp, and then 40% all damage amp via the Blessing of the One Light. So guys, look at that. No wasted buffs here. She is actually, like, if you're not going to be playing Monofusion, Yuno is literally his best in slot partner. She is, like, designed for his kit. But that third slot, like we mentioned, right, guys? What does Shorekeeper give? Ah, fuck. Damn, that's not good. Yeah, she gives attack, bro. And then her Echo gives attack as well. But there's one thing you can do over here. and that is change your Rejuvenating Glow Echo to the Bellborn Geochalone. This works for one specific reason. The Bellborn Geochalone gives a 10% damage boost. It does not give attack like the other Echoes. So the only real wasted stat you'll end up having on this team is the 15% attack and Shorekeeper Sig if you have it. So it's actually way better to like use variation on the team, right? Get a faster rotation and then no wasted buffs. So Shorekeeper Sig is actually non-synergistic. It's actually just non-synergistic with the team. So there you go. This makes the team less bastard, but of course, 15% attack is still always going to be missing. And that's a bit of an issue. Now, we need to start talking about some unfortunate realities about Jingran's kit. And that is due to the fact that he's an HP scaler. Units that you would assume are very budget friendly and could work with him, they're not really going to work that well. And the first one that comes up, guys, is naturally going to be Mortefi. Because Mortefi is the budget heavy attack damage amplifier. And there's a reason why I didn't really showcase this sustainless team over here. That would feature Jingran in the third slot, heavy attack buffer Mortefi, right? You'd be looking at this and you're like, oh, you go from here to here, and then Jingran's gonna have some big buffs, right? This should be good. Here's the problem with this, guys. Mortefi's strength is truly allocated between like 3 core areas. He gives a lot of attack with Static Mist. Then he gives a lot of attack with Moonlit Clouds. And then he gives a lot of attack with his S6. 20% attack over here, followed by 22.5% attack over here. So we have 42.5. Add in my Static Mist, and we're at 67% attack. That's all useless if Jingran is just an HP scaler and he has no attack scaling. So the core draw of this guy's kit, his like 60+% attack on top of his outro buff, you're not really benefiting from the 60+% attack, right? It's rough. It's rough not to benefit from that. And of course, maybe Jingran has some way to like convert attack scaling into HP in his kit. Maybe they learned from Cardathea and the fact that Cardathea feels like some poo outside of like some very specially designed teams and having her Sig. And the guy has like some measures built in to make it, you know, some split scaling or something like that. But we don't know yet. And based off of the HP scalers I've seen in this game, I'm just going with, well, the first iteration Cardathea that we had before. And her team comps are so like fucked, it's kind of ridiculous. But because Fusion has so much more support outside of, like, raw attack buffs with Lupa, he actually does have more teams than you might have thought. Now, another character that's going to be really lacking with him, that's almost as equally free to play. Not happening, guys. Because what is Rebecca's strength? She is like a Mortefi Supermax. Gives more attack, right? Gives more buffs. Has more on-field damage. But she also uses Moonlit Clouds, right? Her weapon, if she's not using this, she's using Static Mist, and this gives attack as well. And then the last thing, right, guys? Probably already taken a look at it, but her ultimate also gives 20% attack. So it's the same exact issue with Mortefi over here that you're seeing with Jingran. The guy just has way less teams simply off the basis of him being an attack scaler. Or sorry, being an HP scaler. So the core, real, like bare minimums that you kind of want on the roster to truly at least have a chance of playing him is this. I suggest you don't get near the character unless you have Yuno or Lupa. One of these two. And if you don't have one of these two characters, I would heavily suggest you maybe reconsider some of your pulling plans. Because what else? What are you going to do with him? I feel like your teams are going to be quite weak if you try to get him to work with a Rebecca or a Mortefi, and you will truly regret your purchase until you get one of these. And I think he has the potential to do some bricking. Because having a cart without a Chakota, right? Yeah, that is something else. That there's a reason why CCs have cried over Chakota before. She's that necessary for Cardathea to function. And Jingran, I feel like one of these two is going to be your prerequisites. But at the very least, he's got 2 very strong characters on the roster to help him out on his release. Because otherwise, he might be a skip for some people. That's our meta discussion, and hopefully that was helpful. I know that went pretty deep, but when we know virtually everything about his kit, aside from like maybe his inherent skills that have like conversions or attack scalings built in, you kind of know he's just like an HP scaling version of Augusta. That happens to be Fusion. And there's a lot of meta tips and a lot of meta advice that we can make based off of that. Now, we got one last thing to watch. And that is going to be this. And of course, read this as well. A rare power resides in his right eye, letting him seize scattered frequencies that slip past all conventional senses. When his resonance power reaches a critical threshold, he can raise an isolation barrier, forcing every concealed frequency into the open. Oh, that kind of doesn't sound like... His powers are confusing to me. I don't know what he actually does. So, like, he has a Mordekaiser ult, domain expansion. Yeah, like, yeah. Again, that's what it seems like. Maybe that's what his ult is. Working in concert with a high-order remnant creature dwelling in his left eye. Oh, so he's like Galbreda. He commands a further suite of abilities, including frequency anchoring, shared perception, and the relaying of commands. I don't know, this guy, I still don't know what the fuck he does. Like, bro, what does he do? Maybe we'll find out. Why'd they go so hard with this one? Why does he have such aura farm and then, like, he's so lame? Yeah, no, this is crazy. And they even got some mumble rap for him, too. I don't know. That, like, this guy is farming so much aura for, like, what he did in the story. It low-key feels undeserved, but this might also mean this. And I don't think anyone can argue against this. Kuro does not half-ass their male animations. And many can say that the work put into, like, the VFX and the animations of the male characters can oftentimes exceed the female ones. A lot of people like this guy, surprisingly. He's got good stuff. I think this guy actually has the best animations in the game. I'm just saying, I think he has the best animations in the game. That's not really arguable. Brand's got good ones too. So does Zhang Liao and Jian. So, naturally, right? With everything that you're seeing over here, he might have the biggest power creep on the roster yet. And I mean that from like a visual VFX angle. They might be going fucking hard with this one. Because guys, the last time they made a guy from China, they made Chu Yan. This is their next Chinese guy. They've got like the national pride hanging on this one. I think they're gonna go ham. And hopefully, his animations will not disappoint. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.